Welcome to the Decide to Move podcast, helping entrepreneurs like you make smart, pivotal shifts in your life and business. Tune in each episode for inspiring stories from brilliant business minds and trailblazers to find out how they made their big moves and how you can too. Now here's your host, author, speaker, business strategist, CEO, and founder of Decide to Move, Monica M. Bijou.
Thank you for joining us for another episode. I am super excited for our guest speaker today because she's going to teach you 5 ways to elevate your online business and your online presence. And this is so much needed in this time in the day. She's actually the founder of Foolishly Creative, which I absolutely love that name. So we're going to find out how she came up with that. But she does marketing. She's a web developer and does so much more. So I'm super excited to have our guest today, Kimberly Mays. How are you doing today, Kimberly?
I'm doing very well. Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us today. So tell us, how are you surviving with the new normal that we have going on right now?
Yeah, so how I'm surviving is I'm allowing myself to be human. So I think that is the best part that's the most important part about surviving and pivoting is allowing yourself to have your feelings and not really pushing them to the side, but really just sitting in them, trying to sort them out and then figuring out your next steps. So as for me, I work online. I'm usually in front of a computer most of the time anyway. So not a lot has changed in my business with regards to what I do, but just personally, I definitely do take time for self-care and self-reflection and try to get offline and out of the screen sometime when I can.
And that's super huge and important because so many people are spending, we already spent a significant amount of time online, but now that people are required to stay home, it's even worse. And then all they're doing is inundating themselves with the news and different things like that. So it seems to make things worse for them. So I appreciate how you indicated getting offline sometimes is super huge and important. So where are you actually calling in from?
I'm actually in New York City.
So how is that? How has things been there for you?
Things have been okay. So, we are kind of right as of now, as of this state, we are kind of the epicenter of the outbreak. But we try to take things one step at a time, one day at a time, and do the best that we all can. Follow the guidelines and really just make sure that we're there for each other, as well as we still get things done. New Yorkers, we're the type of folks that we get it done no matter what. We're showing up.
Exactly. So tell me all about your I'm super excited to hear about how you became an entrepreneur, like what drove that shift, and then how you came up with the name of your business.
Okay, so it kind of goes back to about 20 years ago. So I was a bored teenager and I decided to do websites and just to learn it for fun. And I said I could do this one day professionally, but I didn't really know exactly how to market or anything like that. I put that on the back burner. I went to college, got jobs, and I've always been in the email marketing, digital marketing, online space. I've been with small and large companies. And then in 2016, I decided to revisit my love of web design and branding and marketing. And I decided to do this on the side at first. And I did it for small businesses, mainly coaches, speakers, and thought leaders. And then as of 2020, I took my business full time. So now I do this on a larger scale. And I also do speaking and teaching as well.
Nice. Yeah, we actually are in a group where you do a lot of the coaching for 90X, which is a planner that I faithfully use to help me do the action steps that I set out to, reach my goals. How did you connect with that?
Yeah, so I was in another mastermind business group, and then the leader or the admin of that group introduced me to Alon, and then me and Alon, we talked about it, and I have a lot of experience in email marketing. That's where I've been since 2006, and I have a lot of tips and tricks that I've seen work in larger organizations, and I want to bring some of those strategies to small businesses.
Oh, that's great. And that's what people don't understand the power of actually connecting with people online, how you can have people help you network and different things like that. And so using your online space in a positive way and not just, in a negative, shooting nasty emails or doing different things like that. I've seen so many people not monopolize from it, but also don't use it to the benefit that it provides.
Yeah.
So today you're going to teach us 5 ways to elevate our presence online. And it's so important right now for us to be able to learn how to do that. Are you ready to get into some of the tricks and trade?
Yes, I am.
So let's get started.
I totally am. So, I like to have my signature talk be the 5 ways to elevate your online brand. And I think it's super important as we're taking all of our brands online, even dance studios, they're going online. So I think it's so important to remain creative and see how you can use this online space no matter what your business is. And the first thing I would say is to really know your ideal client and know your target. I think it's too tempting to want to reach everybody and do all things for all people, but you really need to understand how to niche down and to identify who you want to be your customer, be your client, and put yourself in their shoes. What I like to do is I like to tell people to solve a particular problem. And when I say the word problem, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It just be that something that they're looking for, something that they're wanting, and finding a solution, a creative solution to that problem, even if other people are doing it already. And I say that your messaging is very important. That's why I use copywriters, because they know how to write to sell. So if this is not a particular skill set of yours and it's not of mine, but I have partners, that could be a good investment too, to know how to speak into the problem so that you know how to offer the solution to that problem. So that's actually number 1, is just really figuring out which problem you're going to solve. And then number 2 is, once you do that, I would say it's the messaging, it's the copy, it's just knowing how to communicate, how to put it out there, how to reach these people. And then number 3 is really all about your visuals and your branding. So once you get your foundations done, for your business, what you're offering, your price points, all of that. Yeah. I say for most people who are getting started, you don't need to invest a whole lot in the website right now. And it may sound counterintuitive because I do websites, but I tell people you need to actually have paying customers so you know what works, what will stick. And then once you reach a certain level, then you can make those high ticket investments. So once you're ready to do that, I say, you want to have a consistent and cohesive look throughout your online presence. So that means your website, your social media profiles, your your email marketing especially, and I'll get into that too with systems and emails. But you want to make sure that your message is the same all the way through, and that's really being mindful of who you're showing up as online. So if you're the kind of person, I know Monica, you were talking about people just post a lot of negativity. I've seen this too, where people are just posting stuff, they're complaining on their personal profile, but that's also visible to your clients. They're looking at your profile, and really, I used to say that your personal profile and your professional were 2 separate things. They're really not. I am friends with people that I work with, and I am friends with my clients on Facebook. There is no getting around the fact that your profile is your profile, who you show up online. So that's really making sure that it's consistent. Now, whether you want your colors to be one way or another way, that's a lot of color psychology, but just knowing how you want people to feel and translating that into the visuals helps. And having a website at a certain point, you want to have, you should always have a domain name, first of all. I don't care where you're starting out as. Buy the domain name, just buy, even if it's a sit, so you have it. And then if you're starting out, you can have a landing page or something that tells people what you do and where to find you. And this is something you can set up yourself. When you're ready to hire out, I suggest knowing which programs or which services you're selling, who you're selling to, and having that guide and that outline for your business. And then on your website, you really want to make sure that you give people an easy path to follow to work with you. So when they land on your site, you tell them automatically what it is that you want them to do, and then they'll take the action. And that's called a conversion. And that's really important when you are setting up your site and getting getting people to know, like, and trust you, which is really key. And then, so that's the third one. So I'll go back over the three again. The first one is to really know your ideal client, know which problem you're solving, and know the solution. And number two is to get the messaging correct. So that could mean hiring a copywriter, spending some time on your copy, and just really knowing how to speak to people, because that will get you so much further than a fancy logo or flashy website. And then number three is the visuals, the things you're actually putting out there, putting online, and just making sure that it is cohesive.
And I just want to add one thing real quick. Sorry to interrupt, but
Okay.
what you said, that have a landing page, you know, something where they can go to if they're not ready for their website. I appreciate you saying that. That's the first time that anyone's ever, I've heard a lot of people just say, don't have a website, but they don't say what to have instead. And I know for a fact that I've had people who wanted to connect and work with me. The first thing they do is go look to see if I have something out there. So that right there, I mean, that's golden. So many people do not talk about what is a landing page and how does decipher between the two. So when you go back, if we can actually talk about that, I think that'll really help those that don't have a website.
Yeah, and I can definitely touch on that too, because I appreciate you saying that, because I hear a lot of people saying you don't need a website. And that is true at first. But if you're relying mostly on social media, you can get locked out of your account. You can get, for whatever reason, that is the property of that platform. And most people don't know this, but when you post something on social media, only a fraction of the audience actually sees it. So to be known, like, and trusted, there needs to be a place that they can go to really find out who you are. And that can just be one pagers. Like, I know a lot of business owners who are doing very well with just a single page. So that's not to say you don't need a website. I didn't say that, but when you're just starting out, a landing page is simply a page with no distractions. It just leads you to a specific action. So say if you have a landing page to download an ebook, you're not going to see links to this and that. You know, you're just going to see one button that will sign you up for that. Same thing with a landing page for your business. So it can just be a contact form. So all things should lead to somebody submitting that contact form. So that's really what a landing page is. Just something very simple and clean so that people can actually find you online and can connect with you.
Thank you for going into details, because like I said, I have heard so many people say that, and it was said to me, and I was just like, I'm kind of a rebel when people tell me something that where they don't tell me something different to do. Like, I need, if you don't do this, this is a good step to go to. Then I'm like, okay, I'm going to do what I want to do, because I don't have, there's something missing. And so thank you for going into details, because I think that's going to help a lot of entrepreneurs that are making pivotal shifts, that don't have a website that really resonate with what they're doing now. And they're like, how do I start right now with everything happening? I'm uncertain with money, but I want to have presence. So that is definitely, a landing page is something that's super huge and important.
Yeah, because you're going to grow, your business is going to grow into your website. As you sell, as you put stuff out there, you're going to know what works, what's a good idea, and maybe what's not such a good idea. And then at that time, when you do invest, you get a better return on your investment with fewer changes, fewer revisions, and you actually get a website that you like, instead of one that you don't show anybody. So that's why I say that.
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
Yeah. And then number 4 is like the thing that really excites me the most is systems. So I'm a huge nerd. I love coding. I love Microsoft Excel. I love all of this stuff. And I notice a lot of business owners really don't have a system in place. And I think this is really important up front to do before you get really busy with work. So number 1, I would say, in addition to the website or just a landing page, you want to have an email marketing service. So this can be a MailChimp, MailerLite, some other good ones, GetResponse. So there's a ton, and that can be like, I can speak for hours on this, but you just want to sign up with one. Don't really worry too much about which one you sign up with, because what this is going to allow you to do is going to allow people to opt in to receive emails from you. And email is the best way to communicate with somebody directly, because remember what I said with social media, not everybody will see your post, but most of the people will see your email. Now, whether or not they open is really depending on your subject line, but it's a really good way to have a direct line of communication with people who want to hear from you. And these platforms allow you to send email in mass. So it's not like loading Gmail with a bunch of email addresses. Don't do that. It's not legal. But you can use these platforms to send out marketing communications to people, and they can choose to remain on your list or opt out if they want to. And the nice bonus when you get a little bit more into your business is you can set up automation, so you can welcome people into your business, you can nurture them, and you can kind of help them understand what you're all about, so that they can know, like, and trust you, and then eventually want to work with you. So that's the first thing I would recommend. If I can do this all over again, I would have grown my email list first before anything else I was trying to do. So that's number one. I don't know if you want to interject with anything, but that's like the big one for me is email.
No, continue. I think that's great.
Okay. Cool. And then the second thing is a customer relationship management tool. So that's a CRM. I know a lot of people probably never heard of it before, but essentially what it is, it's a repository of everybody who is interested in your business, people who are clients, people who are former clients, and maybe even partners as well. You want to have this system to manage folks, because as you get into your business, you're going to have people reaching out to you. You're going to have people who are working with you right now. And it's going to, if you're a solopreneur, which I expect a lot of people are going to be, at first it's going to be a lot to manage, especially if you don't have a VA or someone who can kind of help you with this. And so a lot of good ones, I think HubSpot is one. I use Dubsado. That is one that I like a lot. It integrates with email marketing. And what's great about these tools is that they will give a response to somebody who wants to work with you. They can fill out a form, give them a response. You can set up strategy calls, things like that. You can set up questionnaires. You can set up contracts, invoicing. It's a really good tool to have. And I think it was one of the best investments in my business that I have made, is by using a CRM to manage folks. And I set up for people too, because they love the way mine is set up when they work with me. So then they're like, oh, can you do that for me too? And I say, okay, sure. So I think those two, especially if you're service-based, are key.
Like what you hear so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. Now back to the show.
And then, there are some others too, but I say just getting your systems in order. If you have a website, you have a landing page, you want to connect that to something, you want to connect that to a CRM, or you want to connect that to an email. And that's just ways to kind of stay top of mind and stay in touch with your clients. And that is going to take you so much further than if you're trying to just manage this all by yourself, just using your email or some other ways. So that's really number 4. Technical, I can talk for hours about this, but if you do nothing else, at least start collecting email addresses and just think about a customer relationship management tool. And then the 5th one is just really promotion. And promotion is kind of a big thing. And I have some theories on how people can promote just based on who they are. I say it should feel comfortable for you. Some people like doing video. Some people like doing direct outreach. But I think it's just really understanding where your ideal client is and showing up for them, even when you may not feel like it. And I have a story. I'm a hardcore introvert, and it took me a while to understand how to work in my business due to my nature. And you don't have to change who you are when you are in business. You just have to understand how to work with it. And I remember my first coach, she's like, yeah, you got to do live videos. You got to show up, you go on this live and that live. And I would look at these polished videos of these professional speakers who probably have teams and equipment that I didn't have. And back in 2016, I actually did my first video, and I was crying, not on video, but crying during the takes because it wasn't coming out the way I wanted it. And I looked back at that video and I'm like, wow, I've come a long way, but just really allowing myself to be who I am in my own time. So now I can go on live video and it's no problem because I don't really care how it looks. I care about the information, but it took me a while to get there. So it's going to take folks a while to get there too, but it's showing up. So I had to learn to just show up because people are more interested in what I have to say more than the attention that I felt was, the things that I felt that were important really weren't. And that means sending out your emails. If people want to hear from you, if they opt in, that means actually email them, actually respond to people when they talk to you, when they comment on your videos and your posts and things like that. And just make sure that you're not really leaving any relationship hanging and no money on the table, because I've done that as well too. And really those are the 5 ways, my 5 simple ways to elevate your online brand is to show up and just be yourself. I know that sounds cliche, but that's really what it is.
No, it's not cliche at all, because that's one of the things that I talk about all the time is being authentic. And so I really want to touch up on the part about promoting when you say, like people say, show up on video. For me, like same thing. I am a therapist. I'm a business coach. I love talking to people.
Yeah.
I love talking to people. That's why I love podcasting. I like to do interviews. When I'm, doing group stuff, I like to show up for my group, but just doing Facebook Lives themselves, for me, just seems so like, I don't know. I guess boring is probably not the right word. But for me, it is, because I'm talking to a camera. Yeah, I can look at my screen and see who's responding back. But I found doing it through Zoom seems a little bit more real, even though it's not. Like I'll invite someone, hey, join me in the Zoom room, but I'll also be live at the same time so I can see those that's on Facebook. And I find that works better for me that way, because I feel as if I'm having a conversation with people, but just being on Facebook Live for me to and so I've had somebody one time make a comment like, well, because I like to teach people about visibility. How do you show up and different things like that? And someone says, but you're not that visible. I'm like, to you, maybe on Facebook Lives, I'm not, but I do summits. I'm on podcasts. I'm on a lot of people. Like showing up, being visible takes a lot of different forms. And so I like the fact that you talked about that. Can you go into other ways that people can actually promote themselves on an online platform, especially with now?
Yeah, so I say you can always join someone else's platform or contribute. That's a better word, contribute to someone else's platform. So for myself, I do monthly coaching with 90X, and then I also do like teaching, and I also do guest appearances elsewhere where I'm teaching people how to do a particular thing. So it's really about making partnerships and leveraging relationships. I've seen this work beautifully with some really well-known influencers where they're promoting each other's stuff during their launches. And I just funnel hacked it, and I was like, oh, I understand now. I get it now. I get what they're doing is that they are leveraging each other's audiences. And that's really not a bad thing. It's really finding where there's a gap and looking to fill it, and just really being tuned to opportunities. So that's really my online strategy. Right now, I am building a small community of my own, but there's always communities out there where you can find a spot to contribute.
Yeah, and that's great. And what I love is the fact that a lot of times, especially as entrepreneurs that are coming on the scene, people look at how long you've been in business. Oh, only for a year. Okay, then. But not understanding that people have been doing stuff what they do for years. Like I had someone ask me recently, he's like, how long have you been doing your business? I'm like, I really have been doing my business itself with my brand and everything for about 3 years. And he was like, well, then how have you been doing almost 20 years of coaching? I'm like, because you don't have to have a business to do what you do. You do what you're doing, perfect it, and then you start, most people start their business, because otherwise you're throwing, spaghetti on the wall, hoping it sticks. Yeah, this is the business that I want. And so unfortunately, there's so many people that are not entrepreneurs who want to become, that get behind that. Like they're afraid to say how long they've been having their business. It doesn't mean that or I've had one person recently say, well, I don't know that they're subject matter experts. I'm like, why? Because they haven't been doing their actual business for a long time, but they've been doing what they've been doing for years. That's totally, don't confuse the two. And so it's good that you were saying how you're finding your tribe, but you've been working and helping other people build their tribe. So that's the part that makes a big, huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of that is imposter syndrome as well, too, feeling that you have to have this long, drawn out like history of this one business when you've been doing the thing forever, and you've been doing it for somebody else's business. Most of the people work for other people's business, or they've been doing it for free. They've been coaching for free, and it's like, yeah. And it's like, yeah, you are an expert. You can, even if you don't feel like maybe you're not this other person, but they are who they are, and they're for who needs them, and you're for who needs you. So that's how I look at it.
Yes, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that's super huge and important
Yeah.
instead of people when they, being afraid to show up because they're worried about what people think and stuff like that. And I've
Mm-hmm.
connected with very prominent entrepreneurs because of the fact that they do recognize, okay, even though your business is only 3 years, you know what you're doing, you know what you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about, and you're making a difference. And for me, that's what it's all about. But I've been doing what I've been doing for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
helping entrepreneurs make money who go from like little $100 here, $100 there, to making six and
Mm-hmm.
seven figures. And so it's like, okay, well, now let me actually do my business and, do it for myself instead of just helping.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I understand that you have something free that you wanted to provide, or a download that the audience or those viewing by
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, as well as those that are listening, can actually go to your show notes and be able to obtain something from you.
Yeah, so I have a free workbook. So my primary focus is for thought leaders, authors, coaches, and speakers. So my Shine Online workbook really kind of helps you drill down your message and identify your ideal client. So many people, they are, even if they're already in business, they're constantly asking themselves this question, like, who am I? Who am I serving? What am I doing again? And those, my workbook asks a lot of questions that help you kind of figure that out, help you kind of figure your messaging down. And then, I do tie it into web design too. So I go into where to put it onto your website, where people might be looking for it. And it's just a nice thing to have, nice questionnaires to ask yourself so that you kind of show up for who needs you and they'll be able to take the action. So that is totally free. And in that link, I think there's also a resource guide too. So I'm a big systems girl, and I don't believe in spending time spinning your wheels, trying to look for that perfect, platform. I say just pick something, stop the analysis paralysis and get started, because that's also productive procrastination. So I added that in, and I'm always adding goodies in there. So you could just check that out. It's absolutely free.
That's great. And then how can
Mm-hmm.
someone find you on social media if they're looking for you or want to connect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so on social media, my page is named Foolishly Creative, and also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is spelled a little differently, but mostly I am on Facebook and Instagram as Foolishly Creative. And then you can just check out my website, foolishlycreative.com slash get started. So if you want to book a complimentary discovery session with me, it's 20 minutes. We talk about your business, we talk about your systems, your website, anything else you have going on. And then that at the end of the call, we'll see if my team and I could be a good fit for you.
Nice, nice.
Mm-hmm.
And any other last words that you want to share with our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, so if you've been listening to me, you might be wondering, why is my business called Foolishly Creative? And everybody wants to know the history behind that name. So it's kind of funny because I was looking for a domain name for my business. I hadn't yet named my business, and I knew it had to end in creative. So I'm on GoDaddy trying to find names, and I'm like, okay, well, I need an adjective. I'm thinking this adjective, that adjective, all taken. And then my boyfriend, he's saying, well, why not name it Foolishly Creative? Because I'm actually a little bit silly. And so I was like, that's it. That's what I'm naming my business. And I bought the domain name. It was available. And then about a week later, a relative was like, well, are you sure you want to name it Foolishly Creative? It's not foolishly is not good. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Oh, why did I buy this thing? I already put it out. But then I thought about it, and then I saw this quote from Steve Jobs that says, stay hungry, stay foolish. And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm keeping it because it really speaks to how it feels to do something different, feels to kind of go off the beaten path and try something new, especially when you feel foolish inside. Sometimes you don't always feel confident. You feel stupid when you show up to do these videos or you show up to do something new. And so I said, okay, well, Foolishly Creative, that's what my business name is, because that's what I stand behind and that's my philosophy.
Yeah, I like that. And that's such a good thing for people to take heed of as well, is that, go forward. You may feel foolish in the midst of it, but you know what? You keep pushing and like, hey, this is meant to be, stepping out of that comfort zone. Like even right now, we're stuck inside and having to stay home, and people are like, what am I going to do? And I'm an ambivert, right? You're an introvert, but I'm an ambivert. I love my me time, being inside. I got so many things to do, but then I have times where I need to show up and be there, and people are like, oh my God, you're so approachable and so much fun. But then it's like, you have no idea how much energy to do that. Like, you're so energetic. And it's like, yep. But when I get home, it's comfy pajamas and fuzzy slippers and just relaxing and being all about me. It's great. So thank you so much, Kim, for providing us the 5 ways to elevate our online presence as well as your brand, and just helping people to take things to the next level. I love everything that you stand for. I've actually got to follow and listen to you give email marketing tips and strategies in 90X. And so keep doing what you're doing, because you're absolutely doing a great job.
All right. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure.
My pleasure. So thank you all for listening in for another episode of Decide to Move podcast, and continue to listen in so you can find additional ways to continue to follow us. Thank you, and you have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Decide to Move podcast with Monica M. Bijou. If you are ready to make a pivotal shift and take your destined position in the world, then schedule a free discovery call by going to www.decidetomove.com. For all links mentioned in today's show and to listen to previous episodes, go to www.decidetomovepodcast.com. And remember, we've all been delivered rotten fruit in our past. We can choose to chew on the rotten fruit trying to convince ourselves it's what we want, or we can become the fruits of our labor and create an incredible, fulfilling, and inspiring life and business out of it. You have what it takes to create the life you want.